What's up, y'all? Welcome back to my channel. So I'm gonna cook because I'm not gonna lie to you, my iron been low. I've been having migraines and shit. And yesterday, like, I don't know, I was asleep and ended up waking up, and like I was just dreaming about some damn steak, and I was like, I need to cook a steak. So we got some steak, but I need to go ahead and cut up this bell pepper and the onion, and then marinate the steak, put it to the side, and then I'll probably just go ahead and like chop up the cabbage I'm gonna cook today, and I might chop up the zucchini I have and then just cook that later on this week. But let's get fucking started. What is up, y'all? Welcome back to my channel. So this is voiceover Ariel, and I just want to come and talk a little bit about like my food process, especially like when I actually prep stuff for like the week or a couple days or whatever. So one thing I always have to have on hand is onions. I love onions. I will throw them in literally everything. If I'm making zucchini and squash in the oven, put them in there, like fried rice, like anything with bell peppers. Like I'm going to use onions up. So I usually just get a bag full of them. That way I just have enough for like a lot of different meals. Like, and I'll try to add like almost a whole onion with like everything I do. But I will be cooking like these pork chops later on. So part of the reason why I was chopping up these onions is so that it can go in there. With that, I like to marinate it and kind of just like let it like sit a little while, but I really didn't have time for that. But I did end up letting my king oyster mushrooms that you will see later on marinate a little bit. But yeah, I'll usually like slice some and then dice them. It just depends like what other like vegetables and stuff I have and like what I plan to cook for like the next couple of days. But I'm basically separating them because I want to put those that are like chopped up, like diced up in a whole different like area than the other like onions I want to use. So one of the vegetables I usually get whenever I go grocery shopping is zucchini. I will more than likely get it from Aldi's just because it's cheaper, and I feel like the quality is a lot better than like going to Kroger or like different stores. Like I don't know what it is about Kroger. I feel like because somebody was talking to me about this, and they were like, you know, Kroger has been struggling because they tried to buy those snicks out, and then that whole thing kind of like went down the drain and didn't, you know, create as much profit as they were hoping. So they try to have as least many like staff members like on hand, and it makes sense because like when I tell you, I be up in them stores and it be like nobody up in there, like, and then the people who are up in there are usually 9 times out of 10 stocking. Like I went earlier and like there was like nobody at the lines, like you had to do self checkout. And I mean, I think that realistically there's a lot of shit when it comes to like capitalism, and then like, you know, companies trying to like create profit, but they're doing dumbass shit. But that's a whole nother topic. But yeah, this is one way I like to cut up my zucchini. Like I could also like slice it so they're just like whole circles, but I usually do that like if I have enough room to cook it. I feel like this one, like this is just the easier way for me to cook it and get it like cooked well done and like not take up a whole bunch of space. But yeah, I'm just gonna cut up all of this zucchini and I'm gonna move on to my bell peppers. I love bell peppers. Like I said earlier, when it comes to onions and bell peppers, zucchini, those are like some of the things I keep on deck all the time, especially green bell peppers. I love to put these whenever I'm doing like turkey, like ground turkey. Maybe I'm making meatballs or something, like I could use that in there, like for quesadillas, when I'm like marinating like different meats and stuff. I just love bell peppers, and we actually have some growing in the yard, so I can't wait for them to start growing. I don't know if you like hear this noise back here. It is my sweet baby boy Shadow, like over here trying to force me to rub him while I record this little voiceover. But yeah, when it comes to these bell peppers, 9 times out of 10 I will like slice them into strips, and then if for some reason like I have some diced onions like I actually did earlier, I will dice them up. But either one, it just depends on like what I do want to cook. I'm not gonna lie, I'm really excited that it's finally summer, which means it's grill season, because I just love the grilled food. It just hits different. And then, you know, just being able to be outside and just vibe like while you're cooking, I just feel like it just hits different. But I haven't used our blacktop that much, but I do want to try to like do a couple different videos of me maybe like, you know, doing some marinated chicken thighs, like vegetables. We did fried rice and like hibachi style a couple different times last year. So, you know, I'll definitely like make a video out of it because, you know, why not? But I'm taking those zucchini and then that like diced up onion, and I put that in a bag for me to freeze. And then I put some of those green bell peppers in this like old pickle jar. I like to like pickle certain vegetables and stuff and just let it sit in that way. Like, you know, I'll have some different things to add to different rice bowls or maybe sandwiches and stuff like that. But yeah, I'm just chopping these up. And when it comes to me and the meal prepping, like sometimes I think about, okay, what do I want to cook within the next like 3 days. Like, what would I actually want to cook? And then everything else that I feel like I can't cook within those times, or that I'm not gonna cook, I just go ahead and freeze it. That way I just have extra stuff on standby. This is what I like to do, especially when I like stock up on my veggies, because I am someone, I don't like to be up in the stove 24/7. I do not. Like, I feel like sometimes it's nice to like, take your time and shop, but I'd rather not do that. Like, I'd rather be at the house. So, I'll stock up when I need to, and then just, save everything for later on. And I feel like this does pretty good, because sometimes like I won't use those vegetables because I have a lot of stuff that I've already cooked and stuff, and then like a couple weeks later I'd be like, oh shit, like I forgot I got some bell peppers up in the freezer. Love to see it, and then I can just like create a meal out of that. I'm really just intuitive when it comes to what I'm cooking. Sometimes I have like plans in mind, like, okay, I want to cook this, I want to cook that, but a lot of times I kind of just like see what I have in the kitchen or see what I have in the pantry, freezer, whatever, and I kind of just go based on that. And I'm putting some of these other bell peppers in that same pickle jar because I'm going to pickle them up, and I'm end up going to add some green cabbage in there just because. And I feel like this is really good for when you do like maybe wraps, or like you do bowls and stuff like with rice and meat and stuff like that, and just have an extra like source of, I don't even know what you would say, I guess vitamins. Like, I don't know, I just feel like it's nice to have vegetables like at the end for random things that you normally wouldn't. It just adds, a little bit more protein, not even protein, oh my gosh, just nutrition, let's just say that. And then I got these snacking peppers. I believe I got them from Trader Joe's, and I'd never seen them before, but they weren't like hot, and I ended up not eating them, but somebody else ate them. But yeah, I just like seasoned them later on, and then you see me putting all the rest of those bell peppers in a bag, and I'm actually going to use that from when I chop up the rest of this cabbage. But this like leaf that was like kind of on the outer side, I just decided to put this in like this jar to pickle it just because. And I'm just like, okay, you know what, I could just use it, because it felt like it was like a little bit, I don't know, the leaf wasn't as crunchy as the rest of it, if it makes sense. So I was like, why not? And then I have this whole ass head of cabbage that I have to chop up, and I'm going to cook it like, it's similar to Jamaican style. It's just, I know that's definitely not how they would cook it, but it's inspired by that. I've took some of the, steps in like the like products or like the veggies and stuff that they use and kind of did like that. But yeah, I'm just chopping it up. Like, usually I'll chop it up like the long way and then like split it in half if I need to. And I try to get as much of my cabbage as I can, so that way I have a lot of vegetables to eat and stuff like that, because it's not just me. And then here I am just chopping up the rest of this cabbage. I really just go for it. Like, sometimes like I'll make sure I'll be a little bit more precise, but sometimes when I'm cooking, I just need to cook some shit, and I'm like, I don't even care. Like, I ain't got time for this shit to look pretty all the time, and I'm just like making some shit shake. And whenever I do cabbage like this, it will take up a couple of different bags of like, frozen bags like that. And I think I had enough for like 2 or 3 bags. But yeah, I'm gonna like cook these later on, and I don't have a big enough bowl to just have them sit there, so that's why I put them in those bags. And I'm just gonna finish up chopping up this cabbage. So whenever I'm meal prepping or I'm cooking, I like to like, do certain things and then like have them put to the side. So basically doing the steps that I feel like are necessary in whatever order. So, now that I have those cabbages or that cabbage like put up, I'm going to basically like season these little peppers so I can put them in the oven so that they can cook while I do some other different things. Because girl, I was prepping a whole lot of stuff, and I feel like that's just really how it is when I have my prep days, because I like to do as much as I can in those days. That way, like throughout the week or like the next couple of days, like I don't have to worry that much about like what I'm trying to cook. Like, I can just throw some in the oven if I need to, or just microwave any leftovers. And then I'm seasoning it with paprika. I love paprika. I really was just going with like whatever seasons and stuff I had at the house. And then you saw me add like that yellowish thing, that was nutritional yeast, and I like to add nutritional yeast in almost everything, and I actually ran out, so I do need to stock up on some more. But yeah, I'm just gonna pour these into like this little like bowl or this container, and I'm gonna put them in the oven for a little while. I really was kind of guessing on like how long I should put them in for, because because I really didn't see any directions on the thing, so I kind of just like freeball it, and I had it on 400. 400 is my go-to whenever I'm like cooking, especially a couple different things at one time. And I'm just going to go ahead and like pickle the rest of this other stuff so I can get this out the way and put it in the fridge and move on to what else I have to prep. So I added some of that ranch seasoning, and then I added a little bit of sesame oil, and then I'm adding clear vinegar or white vinegar, and then I'm going to add a little bit of water on top. I don't like to do too much vinegar. I mean, I feel like usually I'll do like half and half, or like maybe like 1/3 to 2/3. It just really depends on like what I got going and like how I want these veggies or like whatever I'm like mixing up to actually taste. Do I want it to be a strong vinegar taste? Because I don't necessarily like vinegar. You know how like Captain D's gives you like vinegar for the fish? I don't like doing that. Like, I don't like a lot of vinegary stuff, but like when it comes to pickled stuff, I'm like, okay, I kind of like it. I like it better. And then I got these king oyster mushrooms. I literally had no idea what I wanted to do with these, so I was like, you know, we're just going to try some shit. And I basically like cut off like the little bottom part, and then I sliced them in half, and then I sliced them in half again, so in quarters. And I just wanted to marinate these. I just should be trying stuff, I'm not gonna lie to you. Like, sometimes I'll look up a video, and other times I'm like, okay, what do I have in the kitchen, and like how do I feel like I can make this work? Okay, so now that I have all those mushrooms cut out, I'm going ahead and basically I'm peeling some of these potatoes. I'm not peeling the whole thing. I really don't always peel my potatoes. If I just see like a little spot or whatever, I'm like, that needs to go. I'll just peel off that spot, and then I'm going to cut them all up. I love using potatoes as like my carb. Like, I'll do rice here and there, but I definitely prefer like potatoes more than rice. And what I usually do is just like chop them up and then throw them in the oven, season them however I want. It just depends on what I'm feeling, like what am I cooking to go alongside this, and that'll kind of determine like what spices and stuff that I will use. But this time in particular, instead of me dicing up the potatoes like I usually do, I decided to just do wedges. And I mean, I feel like it's okay. Like, it's not like a big difference, honestly. But now I'm going to basically just like check on these peppers to make sure that they're not burning, because, you know, not trying to burn my peppers. And that's something I have to like always set timers to make sure I'm like focused on my stuff and not burning anything, because I will forget. And then I'll just put them back in for 15 more minutes just for them to get a little bit crispier. And I'm going to chop up the rest of these potatoes, and then I'm going to put them in the oven too. Okay, so now that all the potatoes have basically been chopped up, I'm going to spray some oil on the bottom of the pan, and I'm adding some olive oil and then some different seasonings. I added some more ranch seasoning. I just felt like just using the rest of that ranch seasoning, I'm not gonna lie to you. So I added about like a packet and maybe like a quarter or a third, whatever was left from me pickling that stuff. And then we're gonna add some parsley, and then I'm just going to mix them all together. And I don't really add that many seasonings when it comes to me, like when I like make potatoes and stuff. Sometimes I'll add like different like other powders, like garlic powder, onion powder. It just really determined on what I feel and like what else I'm cooking with it. And I'm going to go ahead and put these oyster mushrooms into a bag, that way I can marinate them while I finish like the rest of the other stuff I have to cook. So I'm taking some of that sesame oil, just a little bit, not too much. I don't like using a lot. And then I had some teriyaki sauce in the fridge that I want to use, so that's why I also added. And then I'm adding a little bit of dip sauce, and then I'm going to just like basically like press them together and try to like marinate them and make sure everything is coated evenly. And I'm just going to set that to the side, put it in the fridge, whatever you need to do, especially considering like how long you're going to be like fixing the other food. But now we're going to go ahead and season these steaks, and I added like salt, pepper, garlic powder, onion powder, Cavendish seasoning, added some paprika, because paprika and me go together real bad. And then this steak seasoning from Kroger is just called steak seasoning. And then some dip sauce, and then I'm gonna add a little bit of olive oil on there, and I'm just gonna massage it a little bit, and then I'm going to flip them over so I can season the other side. And basically do the same thing. I'm adding that Cavendish seasoning, onion powder, garlic powder, once again paprika, salt and pepper, and then that steak seasoning. And then I will add a little bit more dip sauce. I love dip sauce. I literally have not had none in a little bit, because I keep forgetting to get it when I go to the store, and it makes me sad, because like I'm like, it's not giving the same thing. Like I mean, the food is still good, but it's like essential. And now I'm going to go ahead and start cooking this cabbage. So I added a little bit of olive oil. Usually I would use coconut oil, but I definitely did not have any coconut oil, and I've been forgetting to get coconut oil too. And then I added those strips of bell peppers that I chopped up earlier, the red pepper, the yellow pepper, and the orange pepper. And I'm adding these like carrot shreds. Also, sneak peek, look at my baby, look at him, not even supposed to be in the kitchen. I definitely told him to get out the kitchen. And I'm adding some of some of that minced garlic, and then I added thyme seasoning. I didn't have like any onions that I wanted to use, so I just used like the I don't even know the onion flakes. I don't even know what the minced onion, maybe, I don't know. And then I added some black pepper and some salt, and then I'm just going to go ahead and make sure everything is incorporated well and is seasoned. And then I'm going to let it sit for a little while, and then after I let it sit for a little second and you know the juices get to flowing, you feel me, I add my first little batch of cabbage. Because I do this in sections, I try to make sure that everything is like evenly incorporated before I add even more products or food. Once I got all of that mixed well together, I'm going to add some more of the cabbage I had, and I'm trying to make sure that it's very even. That way, like, everything actually has like a similar taste. And I'm going to season it a little bit more since I'm adding even more cabbage. Same seasonings. I used a little bit of this chicken seasoning just to like add a little like different flavor, because I usually would use like chicken broth or like veggie broth, but I didn't have any, so I just used that chicken seasoning and some water later on to kind of just give it like that same like flavor in a way. And I'm just trying to make sure that everything is incorporated well, and I'm going to let it sit for a little second and you know let everything kind of like do its thing, let it sweat. And then I'm mixing it again now that it's set for a little while, and I'm going to add some water. You don't have to add that much, it just depends on how soft you want your cabbage. So now that we have the cabbage situated on the other aisle, I'm going to go ahead and basically cook these steaks. So I added a little bit of olive oil to the skillet, and then I let them like sit a little while. And I'm just trying to get them to kind of just like get like, I don't want to say burnt, but I do want to make sure that they get seared a little bit. And then I'm going to flip them over, and then I added a little bit of butter. I added like, you know, 4 little like dices of it. You just didn't see all of it. And I'm letting it sit a little bit, and then once I feel like it has, you know, got a little bit crispier, I'm going to flip it. Okay, so now I feel like that looks good. I probably could have let it sit on that side a little bit longer, but girl, I don't. Sometimes when I be cooking, I be like, you know what, forget it, because I am hungry. I'm just gonna make some shit shake, and then I'm gonna let that sit a little bit longer. And then I put some of that sauce I used earlier, and then I put the bell peppers and onions underneath, and then I put it in the oven and cooked it for a little while. And then this is what the potatoes look like. Now I'm going to take some more olive oil, and I'm going to cook these king oyster mushrooms. I really like have not cooked king oyster mushrooms like that, so I was like, you know, I'm just gonna add that oil and just kind of like saute them, and then just wait for them to get a little bit like crispy, and then I'm gonna take them off the stove. And then this is something that you can use in rice bowls, for wraps, anything really, like whatever you like to add like different protein in. I feel like this could be a substitute. Not everybody likes mushrooms, but I don't know, I love mushrooms, and the younger me definitely did not like mushrooms, but I don't know, mushrooms hit, and I love to like throw them in different things. Usually I get baby yellow mushrooms, but whenever I'm at Trader Joe's or I see like some like different kind of like mushrooms and stuff, I will usually just get them just to try it out. And I added some of that marinade I had, and then this is my plate. This is my little dinner, some A1 sauce, and I hope y'all enjoyed this video, and I will talk to y'all later. Bye.